Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! Hello all and welcome back to the Savage Worlds Summer Showcase. My name as always is Mr. Helen Guthrie. I'm here once again with my lovely wife, Mrs. Joe Guthrie.
Good evening, everybody.
On the far side of the screen over there. We are so excited tonight once again to be bringing you a number of awesome creators in the Savage Worlds community. Before we get to that, if this is the first time you're watching the show, it's perfectly fine to jump in. Because what we do every week during this wonderful, glorious, probably far too hot summer is we are doing shows like this. We are highlighting people from the community, hanging out with them, chatting, and getting to know them a little better. And on that note, very briefly, let's meet who's here tonight. Pete, why don't you tell us who you are and what you represent by being here tonight?
Hi, I'm Pete Rutman. I run a little company called Blessed Machine. Our flagship product that's available today is Secret Agents Across, where you play secret agents that basically work for the Vatican and go on missions. We're going to be launching a superhero Kickstarter down the road here. We also sell a lot of 3D printed product as well. So that's Blessed Machine. Thanks.
Party down. Sounds good. Hey, they love it. Charles White, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Well, absolutely. I'm with Fabled Environments. Our major products are going to be Buccaneer, Monster Hunter Club, and Olympus Inc. We also do modern cartography, so we've got a lot of that out there as well.
Awesome. We're excited to have you on. Learn more about you. The audience loves you. They're going crazy tonight, cutting themselves off mid-clap even. Min and Sam, I know you're sort of a duo, but let's start with you. Min, tell us a little bit about you and where you're from.
Hello, I'm Min Lungelo. I'm from Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota. I've been gaming for the entirety of my adult life, and I decided to start a tabletop company with my best friend Sam Benke back in 2014. And our big product, the one that we're here to talk about, our first product actually, is Ether Adrift, a big old savage setting that's kind of inspired by anime and Saturday morning cartoons. Very colorful, bright setting, but with some mature themes that we're not afraid to explore either.
Hells yeah. And on that note, Sam, best friend of Min, let us know why you're here.
I'm also St. Paul, Minnesota. I've been playing RPGs since I was 10. This is our first game that we've kickstarted. We've played around with some other stuff, but this is kind of a labor of love. We really wanted to bring forward a kind of happy sci-fi. There's been a lot of dark stuff, so we kind of want to go back to adventure and exploration.
The lighter sci-fi, not the dystopian future that we're all seeing on the horizon. Welcome, Sam. What a great group tonight. I'm really excited to dive into some of these and get to know a little bit more about what we're working on. Let's start right at the top. Pete, Blessed Machine. So you talked a little bit about what you can do in one of your games, which sounds pretty fun. You're not fighting Jesus or fighting for Jesus, but I guess you can carve your own path necessarily. What's exciting about jumping into, I guess, this latest product? What's the most tantalizing thing about, I'd say, a player joining this game?
Well, I mean, we're really channeling the mythology. I got to be careful how I say that, but just there's so much background over 2,000 years of interesting stuff that is, part of the church and Christianity and all that. And there's a lot of things, the golden legends, there's, a lot of various things. And we like to incorporate a lot of history in one way or another into our adventures that we publish. So we published the main setting book several years ago, and that's available on drive-thru. But we're up to, I believe, 15 adventures that are, one or two night type of things. But, so we've got some content. So I think with the 3 included in there, you can, you'll have opportunity to see all sorts of different kind of interesting artifacts, a lot of history driven, adversaries and villains, again, a lot of history. So there's neo-Nazi type characters that you can fight against. I bring the biblical monsters like Leviathan and Behemoth into the mix. all that is available for your characters to come against, and your characters themselves can play a Silent Knight, which is a thief, or a Wrath, which is kind of like an offensive magic user. All of it kind of steeped in that sort of Catholic, the spells. This is also a high technology setting as well. So think of Shield, and all the guns have like a scripture denoted on the barrel.
So what made you want to play in this sandbox, though? I'm highly intrigued right now, by the way, because I think that's just a whacked out idea, and I love it. But what kind of made that your go-to? Is it Indiana Jones lore, kind of, because it's not the first time that we've seen sort of that spin on things, but obviously this seems much less from the pages of a dime novel.
You're definitely, though, in the right area. I mean, like, the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones was just so epic. The Dan Brown novels, whether love them or hate them, they channeled a lot of that mythology. And without trying to be offensive to anyone, I just like the tapestry of what that is. For some reason, Italy itself really has been something that's really inspired me. I have like a Da Vinci setting that I've been working on, as well. I just like that part of the world, and and their just the idea that it was the birthplace of a big religion, the church being there, and also the Renaissance is birthed there. It's just a very rich.
I mean, it's replete with kind of options in terms of that.
Yeah.
So take a step back for us. For people who are not familiar with the Blessed Machine campaign idea, what is the elevator pitch for the book? How would you hook a new GM
or the
in?
Cross, you should say. The Secret Agents of Cross, we should say. Sorry.
You said Blessed Machine was released a number of years ago.
So Blessed Machine is the company. There was going to be a comic way back.
I'm sorry.
Yes. That was before conversation. We jumped the gun.
Yeah. So forget about that, and we'll just go with the elevator pitch here. Is basically that the leader of Cross, basically he was a cardinal that worked for the Vatican, worked for the Pope. The Pope way back when was shot in St. Peter's Square and nearly died. And this is factual, history. And then my fictional cardinal, who was kind of like in charge of the Vatican security, he's like, we got to do something. The flock is in danger. The Pope nearly died, and the Pope wasn't interested in doing anything elaborate. So he basically turned the ground underneath the catacombs underneath the Vatican into the manger, which is basically an operations center to run these missions. So the pitch is that you're really you as a GM would have to like the idea of sending people out to protect the flock and to go against the Leviathan, to go to fight people that like in one of the adventures you find the Judas coins, the coins that were paid for the betrayal of Christ.
I think there's it's and the reason I ask it, because I think it is such an interesting perspective, taking that sort of Indiana Jones vibe of these real world items at times, and this real belief system that's sort of around the States, and allowing you to sort of play in those spaces in a way that kind of walks that line between satirizing but also sort of getting to live out these fantasies. And I could see kind of both people who are believers and non-believers enjoying that line. And I'm curious more about that in a second, though, because I want to hear more from Charles. Fabled Environments. Tell us a little bit about, you have the gamut of products that you've had over the years: Olympus Inc., Buccaneer, the Monster Hunters Club, and you have the Kickstarter, obviously. But what started it all? What sort of birthed Fabled Environments?
So we were born out of modern cartography. So I've been gaming for years, and then kind of fell in love with modern gaming and realized there really weren't a lot of modern floor plans out there. You could find fantasy anything, but really, if I wanted a structure, it became difficult. So my wife, who isn't a gamer, unfortunately, but she is an architectural drafter and interior designer, we got to talking about it. And so she was designing projects in school. And so that kind of translated over into the gaming space. So we do modern floor plans. She designs them as if she was doing it for a structure. So we've done a lot of that.
Idea.
And then moving from that brought us into Savage Worlds.
I love how there are so many inroads to tabletop RPGs, whether you are, an artist or an architect or a poet or a writer or someone who loves crunching numbers. There are so many hooks that we have to be able to
I
reel
myself
people
have
in.
scoured the net for like blueprints at times when I'm trying to, especially because I'm a big like Call of Cthulhu player, and the amount of spooky mansions that are all over that system is just replete with it.
It's nice to be able to print something out and throw it on the table at scale. And that's what we can do there. So I mean, that's I've used so many maps, and a lot of folks have. It's just I'm a gamer that loves the game, so I love that people have what they need.
Are you now, when you do your home games, do you print these out? Do you have like a screen that you get to play on? How do you sort of get these to the players?
So primarily they're printed.
Nice.
And they're so large. They're either 24 by 36 or 24 by 36 is our standard. 36 by 48, some of them are even that large. So we'll print out pieces and then I'll use them in my home games. It just makes it more immersive. I've also done it where I've printed it in 8.5 by 11 and did Theater of the Mind, which has worked really well too. So it's just having a shared frame of reference is really important, and I think builds.
So that started it off, obviously, your wife sort of getting involved and you wanting to help kind of create these spaces and these places that people could play in. What was sort of the thing beyond just the blueprints that started you pushing stronger towards RPG? Because obviously you did the first Kickstarter, and then you did the high school floor plans for RPGs, and then you kind of pivoted to the West, and then you went Olympus, which was the urban setting.
Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of? I mean, that's it's kind of a big jump from straight up floor plans to a full setting book. What was the jump there like?
Well, funny you say that. So. Yeah, we were just plotting along with floor plans, and I got introduced to Savage Worlds and loved it. I know you all know.
As we all do.
I know you all know Clint Black, and I was privileged at one point. He lived in the same town as I did, so we knew each other very well. And so we played a lot of Savage Worlds, and then that just kind of translated over to working on some projects that came up. So that's kind of how I got my feet wet with that. Before that, funny segue into Blessed Machine. I actually am a seminary graduate, so my master's degree is in American religion and culture, and I actually started doing articles about religion in gaming and using history as a inspiration. So if you're playing Loyd, let's talk about that. If you're gonna,
I have a game you should play, Charles. My friend Pete, he's got this. That's actually really funny, though. Yeah, but that's a great little Venn diagram crossover right there. How funny is that?
Absolutely. So it was neat to be able to use my degree in gaming.
Do you find yourself often going to those spaces, like even if you don't have a system like the Blessed Machine's systems of the cross? Do you have the kind of mindset moving towards that, building that kind of history into a game? Even if it's maybe a new world that you're creating?
Well, like Olympus Inc., for example, it seems like you're using a lot of this mythology as a basis.
Absolutely, and that I gotta tell you the story really quickly. There was a product that was released that Gilbert Gallo had written, and it was playing in Greece, playing Greek heroes. And so I opened my mouth and said, what if we made it modern? And then the publisher's like, are you writing it? So, yeah. Exactly. So a lot of this kind of flows from there. I try, when I do adventures, I try and use history as a inspiration. Sometimes I can pull pieces and throw them into adventures and things like that. So yeah, it comes up, maybe not directly every time, but it's come up a lot. So it's
funny how much that we all say as much as we like to, that we might write in a bubble at times, but so much of our art and what we create is influenced by history, that it's really nice to have a direct thread to that and pull direct pieces from that. It's fascinating, and I'm excited to talk more about it. But Min, Sam, the Demon Skunk. Let's just start off with that.
Great name for a company.
Great name for a company, obviously. How did it start? I mean, I don't want to,
Is there a real world demon skunk
Yeah.
that you named the company
There has to
after?
be.
Is my main question.
decided on
That's
it?
me, actually. So it was my idea to start it, and I'm terribly vain. So I named the company after myself. My sort of mascot character is a demon skunk, and that's where the company got its name, and the reason it has one horn that's longer than the other on the logo.
I see. And you got your deviant art is Demon Skunk as well. Like this is your mantle, more or less.
Yes.
That's awesome. So, Min, you founded this. You're an artist as well, and you have decided. I guess you said it was 2014, right?
I believe it was 2014. It's been a while.
Wow. So almost 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
that's just a reflection of how quickly time goes, especially the last 2 years. Just like that.
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about Aether Adrift, because you pitched it a little bit and it sounded fascinating. You said it sort of had anime roots. Can you tell us maybe what made you I mean, I don't know if you want to weigh in with each other or however you want to do it, but what made you kind of want to dive into that world? Because that sounds fascinating.
So, like Sam said, there is so much sci-fi content that is so dark and bleak. It's kind of become in vogue recently.
My mascot character is Demon Skunk.
Oh, someone's echoing.
Ooh, that's
Keep talking.
so
Echoing. That's
one of the ways I approach tabletop gaming that Sam teases me relentlessly about is I often will see a video game and I go, I want that, but on tabletop. And so that's what influences a lot of my personal game design type of things. And there are two games that influenced me personally going into this, which was Cave Story, which is a little niche indie title.
Oh, yeah.
Where you are an old defunct combat robot on a mysterious floating island trying to figure out what's going on and maybe get off of it. And Spiral Knights, which is a game where you are one of several space-bound knights who have crash-landed on a mysterious world made of independently rotating clockwork segments, trying to find your way to the core to figure out what's going on and maybe get off of it. The art style for it largely came from a love of Spiral Knights. The initial artwork, and you'll have to bear with me because I don't really know how this screen sharing works, but I've got
No, that's okay. That's yeah, you can add it at the bottom of the screen. I played Cave Story. It's a great game. And funnily enough, I was going to say, it didn't come out too long ago. And then I checked and it was 2004. And now I feel extra old. But I totally see the influences in what you have on your artwork with Spiral Knights as well. So obviously, as you said, you're sort of taking things that you play and you enjoy. Sam, were you sort of just pitched by Min and you were kind of like, this is where I'm at, I'm into this, or how did you kind of get involved?
Well, this was more of our third game that we had worked on. First one was a more traditional fantasy, and we didn't have the experience yet, so we decided to move on to something that was a little more you play robots, and we want to make our own system, but making a whole system is a lot more complicated than you would think.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, I think everyone here now can kind of weigh in on how complicated that could be, and how Savage Worlds and other systems make it very easy to sort of get to frame the story you want to tell.
And it was during this time that some just doodles Min did kind of inspired us, and we're like, well, let's do something using existing system. We've been playing a lot of Savage Worlds, and it's kind of my go-to of, I have an idea for a setting. This is perfect way to quickly come out with something and jump in playing.
So you two were playing Savage Worlds a lot at the time. It kind of lined up. Did you have a home game going? Was it that kind of just the two of you? Did you have a group that you?
We got a group.
Are one of you the GM?
Oh, I was gonna say yeah.
I am a bit of a forever GM in our home group. Yeah.
As is tradition.
We did a bit of rotating stuff. I've taken a bit of backseat from GMing after running World of Darkness for like 15 years straight. I needed a break from.
It gets tiring.
Yeah.
So now Aether Adrift was the first one, right? Or was it Echo 6 that was the first one?
It would have been Wayfarer, which is a fantasy kind of steampunk, etherpunk type of game. Then we had started working on Echo 6 was the first time we really wanted to try and write a system. And everything looked like it was going great until we play tested, and then it turns out the non-lethal stun weapon was destroying things unrealistically horrifyingly. And something about the system, non-lethal, less than lethal. And then, yeah, like Sam had mentioned, we were like, okay, we can't build our own system right out of the get-go. We should look for a system that would work for this, something kind of lightweight, easy to learn, and most importantly, easy to license. And that is Savage Worlds licensing terms were incredibly amenable, and that's one of the major things that drew us in, actually.
You hear that, Savage Worlds? You're amenable. Good job. No, I mean, obviously you also already played it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a double win, and I'm sure that's a similar story for a lot of people.
So you said that you were inspired by a lot of anime, different cartoons. What can we see specifically as inspiration or references that you make clear, I suppose, in your work?
So for me personally, and I'll let Sam talk about his separately, because we don't talk about everything together, even though we probably should. But most of my inspiration comes from video games. Mega Man Legends is a big one. The robots are absolutely inspired by Mega Man specifically in that. But for animes, Studio Ghibli's look, that kind of soft pastel with like the very verdant, pleasant landscapes. That's probably the ones that come to mind immediately for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see some like Nausicaa vibes in the promo art that you have here on your website.
Yeah, our big, let me grab the environment piece that I show everyone is very
nice.
Cool.
Invocative.
And what about yourself, Sam? What are you inspired by?
For me, I just a little bit from anime and video games. They're not really the big driver for me. A lot of it's more sci-fi is where I was coming in from it. Because I was definitely inspired by like early Star Trek, just a lot of those going on adventures, running into weird stuff you don't know what you're going to find. Always just drove me in my interest for.
I mean, that's been a lot of our driving forces, let's be honest. Whether it be Star Trek or Wars or that other Star Child movie or Starman with Jeff Bridges. Any star really kind of made us want to play role-playing games. That's awesome. So, Pete, you mentioned that you also do 3D printing and 3D miniature stuff. Now, how does that work? People can buy from your store. You have printouts. What exactly is that?
So, as far as, focusing towards Savage Worlds, we do, me and another one of my partners, we've got over 100 tokens that you could use as bennies and, or any game. We do blast templates, kind of like the ones that Pinnacle has. We've got some of those types of things. All that you can go to blessedmachine.com and hit the 3D tab, and you can kind of see that. We just did a Kickstarter end of last year called Wild West Hardware, and it is a whole ton of Wild West oriented, like ammo trackers where you have a gun where a 6-gun where you can load and unload the bullets. We've got a lantern that's a dice tower. We got a water tower that's a dice tower. Yeah, there you go.
That's so awesome.
So that's like,
I like that. That's actually really cool.
Dashboard. So I'm really into, because I'm a big I do 6 or 7 cons a year, and as I was starting to develop my GMing style, in front of people. One of the things that I really hated was the fact that the people would sit down and each other wouldn't know who their character was. So I started out simply with like a little name tent, and that turned into a 3D thing that has a white, like a piece of white tape, dry erase tape on the front. You flip it over. There's a door on the bottom, and you get 3 bennies, a wild die, and a dry erase marker. I give that to every player at the table. They write down their character's name and the hindrance they want to play with for bennies with me, and cool. that has made my games immediately start out with role playing and interaction between the characters. So we just blew the doors open on that. With the Wild West, we have a wanted poster where you put your character's name on it. We have the dashboard where you can rack your bennies on it. So all that.
Now you sell this stuff, right? So that when you're done walking from the table, you go, then you make the pitch, right? Because
right. So I recommend that every GM have a printer, a 3D printer. They're relatively inexpensive these days.
They're getting there.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, because I get people coming up just in the last 2 years. It went from like 1 or 2 people coming up to me at a con to 20 or 30 I would talk to, of people that just got printers and they're doing all that. So yes, we do it. We have an Etsy shop that's linked on our webpage. But buy yourself a printer, buy my STL files for next to nothing. And you can print it, all that, a rack of that stuff for everybody at the table. The players just love, they eat up that.
So you're like a really tangible player, obviously. You like having the ability. Did you find yourself switching to online a lot when COVID hit? Did you find yourself gravitating well to that, or do you still ache for the real?
Well, my other life is a long-term IT person. So I don't have any trouble with Roll20 and all those things. And what COVID did for me was I went from 1 printer to 5 printers, and I just printed and printed and printed. And now finally we're starting to come out of this. My first in-person game since COVID hit is a week from now, and I finally can unleash some of this stuff that I've been making.
I 3D printed you a chair. Here, you can sit in it.
Yes,
here's
exactly.
your 3D printed cowboy hat. And
Exactly.
Pete,
this is my 3D printed dog.
If I could, I'm just looking at your website here. I'm looking at all of these different missions that you have published for your Secret Agents of Cross. Which one of these is your favorite, your most cherished publication?
Oh boy,
if you had to just take one with you into the afterlife, what would it be?
That's all you get. Forget your 3D printed dog. You get to take one of your missions.
I'm often about simple. And like you guys are asking me for elevator pitch. I just published one called Passenger 666. That is simply the team coming back from some other mission, and a demon happens to be on board in the body of a stewardess, and then bad things happen in the air.
That's fun. That makes me think of like Fallen with Denzel Washington. Such a good movie.
Easy. I want people to be able to picture. Oh, okay, I understand why that's terrible. Let's solve it. So that works.
I mean, that's
very
a fun concept. I'm not gonna lie.
Harlan's stealing it. I see it. I see it happening right now.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm a simple person. You tell me that there's a demon on board this plane, and I am kind of already sold, and I'm ready to fight. I'm excited. That's interesting.
Great
Charles,
stuff.
now you've just wrapped up the Kickstarter, correct? It just ended.
No, that's older. It's been a complicated last few years, so my website is horrible at this point.
Yeah, websites.
Yeah. Most of our stuff's on drive-through, but we did kickstart Pelion, and we're actually working right now. It's off with the editor, the 3rd book, which is going to wrap up the first 2 and the 3rd into one big book, because we needed to move it forward into the new rule set. So instead of releasing a 3rd book, which we wanted to clean up the first one anyways, we just went ahead and we just put it all together. So we're excited. Hopefully we'll be able to move that to Kickstarter sometime in the next few months.
Have you found Kickstarter working well for your products?
Yeah, it really is. I think the blessing of Kickstarter is it allows you to reach a much larger audience than you probably would. I know that more folks are looking towards Kickstarter, and it really is an avenue to show people what your product is. On drive-through, it's great, but there's really not enough of it there. I think, and then I think people just enjoy being a part of that process and making something come to life.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're nailing it with the modern floor plans, and you said it at the beginning too. You know, it's even now, it's still, it doesn't feel like there's enough, and that's probably just because of the oversaturation of fantasy maps and sci-fi maps, and not to say that they're mutually exclusive, because you can kind of have a bit of all, but with what you're dealing with, you know, trying to find those is such an appealing thing to a lot of gamers that want to tell modern stories, and with Kickstarter's sort of way of promoting wall selling, it must make it kind of easier to get the word out that this is what we're making.
It does, and especially with the floor plans. I mean, you referenced Kickstarter. We did a shopping mall that was 1.5 million square feet.
Wow.
2 stories. And so we came up with venues for that, and so it'd be hard to launch that anywhere else, honestly.
End of season 3 of Stranger Things battle map.
There's a huge market for that, though. Like, Harlan has run many a game of End of the World for us aboard cruise ships and the like, and he'll just send everyone a map of a random cruise ship because they're easy to find online, and we play from that as if it was created for an RPG. I'm curious, has integrating your wife into this facet of gaming given her an in to the hobby, or is she still not really interested?
She's not really interested.
Oh, no.
It's not for everybody.
No, but I mean, she's very appreciative. She understands. The funniest thing is she's just baffled as to why people want to buy these floor plans. So
they're not building the homes. Why do they need them?
Well,
it's great.
The funny thing is that if you look at our floor plans, there's actually bathrooms. So like I said, she does it like she's doing a structure. So I had somebody comment one time, they're like, wow, this map has a bathroom.
Yeah, you never see that in a standard dungeon crawl.
You don't. No. I mean, but everyone has to. I mean, even goblins. I've definitely fought.
They just use the corner.
They just use the corner. That's true, actually.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I love to see how, you know, obviously we're married as well and gamers, but it's always fun to kind of see how relationships function around certain things, but seeing an element of working together, but also not really understanding that side of it is kind of fascinating to a degree, but also fun, you know. So are you just kind of like being like, oh no, it needs to be more this, or are you just kind of utilizing her talents at real layouts?
Oh, very much. It's just utilizing her talents. We take some suggestions, we've done some custom stuff, and pretty much if she can research it, she'll draw it. We did a sailing ship, which was interesting. We've done a dirigible. But yeah, if she can research it, she does it. And pretty much it's, oh, I hear people want this. Okay, I'll draw it.
And you awesome. Take commissions, correct?
Absolutely, we do.
Perfect.
We work a lot. Well, we have two things we do, and this is important, especially for the Savage Worlds communities. We do commissions, and if it's modern and she can research it, she can do it. We also have, as I said, we've got a lot of floor plans, so we do work with publishers. If they want to reprint some of our floor plans in their product at 8.5 by 11, we'll let them do that. So cool. Yeah, it's a way for people to know who we are, and it's a way for publishers really to kind of beef up their product. So we're happy to partner with folks.
So what's the easiest way for people to contact? Email?
Email, yep. Charles at fabledenvironments.com.
Bam! Bam!
So quick on the uptake.
That's awesome. I mean, honestly, the amount of times that, like I've said, I've envisioned, and I think we as forever GMs and storytellers in general, I'll just blanket quote this group in that title because we always are. You know, being able to have a vision for the story we want to tell, and then lacking the talents to complete it is a common problem. You know, and then you have artists that are in the same hobby that can do things that you can't. So it's always wonderful to lean on people in that capacity. And obviously, based on the Kickstarter success and the success of, you know, Fabled Environments, you're very talented. So, or your wife is very talented. You're talented too.
It's a combination.
It's a joint venture. You're doing it together. You're the name and the face and the idea person, and then the other person does all the work. I'm kidding. I'm teasing. No, it's fantastic. The Monster Hunters Club has been, because I mentioned Stranger Things, I love the aesthetic that you've used for it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So yeah, we were actually the publisher on that one, and it was funny because originally the author came to me and with the idea and he said, "Well, I've got this idea for an adventure. What do you think about publishing it?" And I said, "No, it's got to be a setting." And so it was a long road. It took us quite a while to get it out the door, but we had some amazing talent in there. The artwork is incredible. We sourced from a variety of different people. And it's just the feeling is just a whole lot of fun. So I did a little work on it too, a little writing in that setting, and it's pretty amazing. It's very evocative of Stranger Things, of Goonies, of a lot of the stuff that you know and love.
Perfect. That's so cool. Demon Skunk Boys.
Yes.
Min, Sam.
For Aether Adrift, this is your most recent or current project. Are you still working on getting that out to print, or what's the status of the project, and how's that going?
Currently, we are wrangling all of our lore, and then we're going to be going to playtesting, hopefully soon. A lot of our product is test ready, but not ironed out yet. We have a good amount of content, pretty much all of our content for novice to seasoned, and once we've got that figured out, we're planning on going in and adding more options for season to maybe legendary.
I mean, it seems like a ton of work to put together a project like this. And it's just the two of you, right? So is this something that you do full-time, both of you, or what else do you have on your plates right now?
Sadly, we didn't, our Kickstarter was a success, but we didn't quite get enough to go full-time. So we're both currently doing freelance in addition to working on the game.
So now you have a huge giant project that you're working on top of full-time jobs, I'm sure, or like you said, freelance stuff. It's quite a bit of work. But this looks great. I'm looking at your project right now on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, you had 130-ish backers. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So I guess obviously we're all middling around the Kickstarter era. I think we've all either done one, participated in one, and I think we've all seen our trials and tribulations throughout all of them. And not to dwell on that, but has the experience kind of already made you excited for the next project? I mean, put it this way. As creatives, we don't always have the privilege to start and stop the ideas that are running through our heads. You know, even though we might be swamped by what we're working on at the time, we can't allow to be like, nah, I can't think about that. So is there anything between the two of you that you're also sort of keeping on the back burner with two additional projects, already under your belts in one way or another? There must be something else cooking as well.
Too many things.
So has your core... Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
Has your core play group, the ones that you're, I'm assuming, still playing with, have they got to play test this already? Have they got to spearhead that?
Yes. Our home group was the first to really test our game back when it was in the really early stages. Angrad in the chat actually helped write one of the larger adventures. Yeah, Angrad 9273.
Nice.
He helped largely with writing one of our bigger adventures that's still not complete yet, so I can't link you to it. But
no spoilers.
No spoilers.
I'll tell you the pitch to get you excited. You're a bunch of newly minted Voyagers that have been asked to go look into a facility that is, for some reason, spewing a mysterious red mist that seems to be enraging the wildlife nearby.
Ooh.
Wow. That's always tantalizing. I'm tantalized.
Looking forward to.
You pitched exactly what you fulfilled. No, that's exciting though. So this obviously will come with some campaign book or set. Like, what's the sort of narrative feel of it?
So the adventure or the game in general?
The game in general. Will it just be a core book? And a few campaigns. Will the core book have a campaign in it? Is it just a setting and, do your own stuff? Because you mentioned, obviously, a narrative there. I'm wondering if that's something alongside or, there's so many different ways to include a story.
So we're wanting to do a living world, a world that sort of evolves as we go through releases.
Interesting.
The first book is the earliest point in the timeline, obviously. To give you a quick run through, it's in the future, about 2250-ish. Humanity has kind of reached a utopian age on Earth, and they're wanting to reach out into the stars and explore. So they put a bunch of ships together to go on expeditions through the stars, and one of them is the U-Sol Albatross, which I'll grab a picture of while I'm talking.
Sure.
And the Albatross is going out to Captain B, and they stop to orbit around an uncharted, unknown planet that's around the point of no return to do routine maintenance, and something goes catastrophically wrong. The Admiral, who is the only person that is currently conscious, makes the call to launch escape pods after verifying the ship the planet is able to sustain life, and the campaign begins. The setting begins a few months after humanity has touched down and made contact with some of the local intelligent life, the Miqua. And actually, we've got a nice video on our YouTube that gives a really brief image and music breakdown of that.
That's fun.
And so you're planning to essentially release different seasons of content to kind of emulate a changing world and progress of historical events. And
that is a good way to put it, actually. Yeah.
Is this inspired sort of by? Now you mentioned Spiral Knights being sort of one of the games that inspired it. It's an MMO as well, isn't it?
It is.
So does it, and I don't know anything about it, but I know sometimes MMOs have like sort of living worlds where stories will progress and change. Is that sort of an element as well that you're sort of using, or is Spiral Knights completely separate and only aesthetically kind of?
I would say that it's mostly only aesthetic.
Okay.
The concept of it, we hadn't actually even considered referring to it as like seasonal content or anything. It just made sense to start everything kind of small, so there's not a huge world to read up about. It's not intimidating to get into.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
which is true, because it can be really intimidating to get into any of these environments. And I think, similarly to Blessed Machine's product, it's playing in a space, the Secret Agents of Cross. You're using more or less a lore that already exists, which is kind of one of the big appealing things about playing in a space that you already feel comfortable with. You know what I mean? And I can't imagine, Min, and Sam, how daunting that must be to have all that flushed out and yet still seem inviting to people, Fascinating. Right. Well, I mean, that sounds exciting. Obviously, you're just plugging away now, trying to kind of keep in front of the ever-moving ball of when do we get it Kickstarter, people, right? Mm-hmm.
You'll get it, don't
Are you on track?
we're a little behind schedule. Our estimates were optimistic, but the benefit is we were planning on doing a digital first release because we want to make sure that when we go to print, our book is as error-free as we can get it.
Yeah,
that's important.
I mean, it's so important. People will just. What was it? The Dark Souls released an RPG. It was like littered with spelling mistakes and stuff like that, and they got blasted.
Understandably,
but it felt like a cash grab too, so it was a little different.
I always like to ask people what they have been kind of obsessed with over the past little while, whether it's like,
as we wind down, we find that, again, through the various products and things, we've already mentioned where we're influenced by. Min, you mentioned the video games. Charles, you mentioned your lovely wife. Pete, you mentioned that the Indiana Jones is kind of the crux of it. But yeah, we always like to ask people,
what have you been obsessed with lately? Whether it's like a specific YouTube channel where they cook eggs, or a book that you've been just buried in, or I don't know, do you go on walks with your dog? Tell us what you like to do more than anything else these days. We'll start with Pete, just because we're going in a nice little chronological order.
Another way to share maybe something you're really enjoying with people that might either know about it or not know about it.
I feel like I've kind of said this already, but I understand when you ask the question, are you behind schedule? I had in my mind 5 settings that I wanted to create in Savage World. And then I bought my daughter a 3D printer. And I had to change my entire company around so that I could justify the ridiculous amount of time I've spent learning that area and perfecting. I taught myself how to model 3D things. I've never done that before. So and then the pandemic hit. They sent me home to work from home. So I'm sitting there and I got open space. So I'm buying more printers. It's a sickness. It really is. But if you're a maker, and there's so many people that have made their own terrain, they're painting, up bits and pieces and making that. It just fits that model so well of presenting your vision to the players that I just got sucked in, and now it's just ridiculous how many I have. But yeah, I made it into the void. I learned all about it. I made some money doing it, and finally I'm coming out on the other side, and I'm back to doing my superhero Kickstarter, and I've got some plans for the next 2 products. So I'm kind of a recovering printaholic. So
3D printers is the big thing that you're wanting to push out there.
Yeah.
Hey, I've never toyed with one. It is daunting in my mind, but I'm sure once I dive in, it will be.
Sounds like it's an eventuality.
Even more so. Yeah.
I think
it's just gonna happen.
I want you all to have one. In fact, my partner didn't have a printer. I bought him 1 printer, and now he has 5.
Oh my
God.
Oh wow.
Truly a family venture here.
Yeah.
What is your daughter making? Is she found like a niche that she's really excited about?
She's a big time maker. She does a lot of stuff in resin. She went with me to Phoenix Con, which is a small con in Appleton, Wisconsin, and she was kind of pitching resin dice holders. Cool. And resin dice and all that. And everyone that came to her table was also a maker. How do you make it? What do you use? And she was kind of disappointed. And then she went to an anime convention in Iowa just a week ago. She sold out of everything. So she found her people. And so that's pretty exciting. So yes, we're a maker family.
Good for her.
That's awesome. Charles, what about
Charles.
you? What are you enjoying? What are you excited about?
So I wish it was 3D printers. That sounds really cool. Mm-hmm. So every night I'm doing the dishes, and I am obsessed with a YouTube channel, MRE, as in MRE.
MRE Steve, 1989?
Yes.
Oh my yes!
We love that guy.
I love MRE Steve.
I think I just woke up our child.
Nice.
Man, he just, I wish
on
he
the
narrated
soundboard.
everything.
Nice.
He makes everything sound awesome. It looks like dog food.
He makes everything sound
nice.
He is so genuine and enthusiastic.
I watched him for years.
That's funny.
Like there's anyone goes MREs, I know who it is. MRE Steve.
You got to put the link up there, Harlan.
Let's get that link on a plate.
Let's get it on. Let's get this out on a plate.
Let's get this out onto a tray. Nice.
I literally have his sound cue queued up because of how much I like hearing him just say.
Nice.
Yeah, he's awesome. Great pull, Charles.
And
really
of course,
good.
my wife walks up as I'm washing dishes, and she's like, What are you watching?
Mm-hmm. I ended up
Nice hiss.
Nice hiss. I ended up getting Harlan some MREs for Christmas.
Yeah. Instant coffee type 3,
Awesome.
just to do it. Great rec.
Really good.
Forget everything. Go watch Steve MRE Steve 1989.
Stop what you're doing. Stop watching this.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Min, what are you excited about? What do you want to spread out?
Well, it's hard to say. I bounce around a lot. I kind of just wander around my house watching random YouTube crap. But I guess if I had to pick one thing I was really obsessed with, there's a streamer called, no, he's not a streamer, he's a Let's Player named Manly Badass Hero.
Okay.
His whole shtick is he plays a lot of weird indie small-time horror games, and also some bigger ones too, but he has this really dulcet baritone voice.
Hey, everyone. Sorry, I just accidentally opened his video.
If you just play his intro, his voice is great.
Yeah.
And he's just really entertaining. He always gets all the endings in the game, so it's really nice to watch him. And a lot of them are just good to listen to while I'm doing anything else.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm into that. Like just a chill voice. I watch a streamer who plays Doom videos, and he just talks. It's very chill, very like good, relaxing content.
Just a relaxing.
It's the anti-TikTok where everything is like really loud and busy, and the minute you launch the app, it like attacks you, and you're like, it's too much. Just like real chill. I like that. Good rec. What about you, Sam?
Well, I've been getting a bit into 3D printing as well.
Nice.
Up to about 4 printers now, 2 resin and 2 FDM. But what's really got me obsessed lately is the AI image generation with DALL-E 2.
Yeah.
I just got my user invite.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's so addicting.
Crazy.
Mid-Journey.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the other one I've also been doing.
What's the one Aaron's been doing on Facebook? Acevedo. He's been doing a ton of.
Yeah. It's digitally just generated images.
Midjourney?
It's not DALL-E, but.
I can't remember. It's fucking awesome though. Some of this stuff. It's crazy how good it looks. You know, some of it. The AI.
Are you doing it for the lols or for artistic purposes?
A bit, just kind of exploring to see what's possible with it. Sometimes it's just creating silly images. Other times it's like, well, I have this idea in mind. What would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
And moving, what possibilities it might have for RPGs going forward. Like, I have a game coming up. I don't have art of this character. I can type this in and then generate a scene or something that never would have thought of before. And I can't really, I don't have the art that Min can do, so that's kind of my way of.
Hey, any way you can. That's what we talked about, right? Like at the end of the day, when you're trying to tell a story, you're trying to get it out. There are only so many things you can do. So many ways you can do it. Awesome. All right, Pete. You've mentioned the Kickstarter a few times. As we wind down tonight, let's spend a few minutes on each person. Tell us, who you are, why you're here, where people can find you, and what's coming up next that people can support or back or however they want. Pete, take us off.
All right. So yes, Pete Ruttman, Blessed Machine. My next Kickstarter is going to be called Campaign City Supers. What that basically is a kind of channeling back to the old, not old, but the comic book format of a lead feature story and then a bunch of backup stories. The first lead story will be Evolution Unchained. It's kind of a genetics nightmare sort of superhero adventure where there's characters, villains with animal powers and genetics gone crazy. And then this will be the first time for me working with industry folks. I'm going to do a stretch goal with as part of the Kickstarter that will use the industry folks. I can't say the names of those folks until I get the contracts back, but they'll be doing 1,500 to 2,000 word backup stories, and the whole concept of Campaign City Supers with its sort of generic name is the idea that it's content that you can add to your own superhero game. So every release is going to have a map. It's going to have at least one new super character, at least one new normal citizen, and then we'll build on those in future releases. So the next so if we did a Campaign Cities number 2, it might reference a bar that was in issue 1, and we find out that one of the bartenders has superpowers, and that'll be the focus of the next one. So we'll build it like a comic. So pretty excited about that. That's going to be launching in October by a Kickstarter, and you can sign up at the I can bring up the link here.
You
might have it. You just hit the button there to subscribe, and you get to see me digitally recreated because I introduced some of the sections and I'm in the video as the comic book Pete. So
nice.
don't miss that.
That's fantastic. That's exciting. You must be excited.
Yeah, comics. As much as yes, I'm a religious guy, I guess. My love when I was a kid was Spider-Man, Batman, all that stuff. I loved it all, and I don't know what got me where I ended up, but I'm going back to my roots, and I'm gonna do supers. So I'm excited.
Hells yeah!
Very cool.
That's awesome. Congrats, Charles. Where can we find you? What's coming up next for you?
Well, the best place to find me is on DriveThruRPG. Just search for Fabled Environments. We pop right on up, and so all our products are there, including our floor plans. And the next one is Olympus Inc. That's been my baby for a very long time. And as I indicated, we're releasing it, I guess you could call it the second edition. It completes it. Just real quickly so folks understand what it is. It's basically the Olympic gods got kicked out of Olympus. The Titans are ruling. And there's a shadow war that's going on. You're playing demigods. You have superpowers, but it's not a superhero setting. You're basically acting in the shadows. And as punishment, they were sent. The Olympians were sent down to the earth, and everybody has forgotten about them. So there's this battle in the shadows. So it's a lot of fun. It really is more of a top secret kind of cyberpunky kind of superhero-ish setting, and so it's a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to getting that out the door, and then we've got some just individual releases that we're sending out, just more kind of generic adventures as well. So a lot on the plate coming forward.
Is there anyone that could follow you at Fabled Environments?
We're up on Facebook at Fabled Environments, so search for us there, and you definitely can follow us. We try and update there. We also have an Olympus Inc. page on Facebook, so just jump on and you'll find out what we're doing.
Brilliant. Min, Sam, I don't think I can do you both at the same time, but let me know together where people can find you, what's coming up next, and what, where people can follow maybe individually.
All right. So we have a Discord server that where we are handling all of our playtests.
Oh, nice.
And we're trying to build a community slowly but surely. We have a Twitter where we make smaller announcements and larger announcements also, I guess.
Both.
All kinds.
Whichever. Sam, can you think of anything else?
We are still open for late backing of Ether Drift.
That is really important, yeah.
And they can find that at the website?
There is a big link right on the website, and I am tossing you some links in our private chat.
Cool.
Excellent.
So if you missed the boat, you didn't miss the boat.
Yeah. I think we're still allowing some options to add stuff to the game that we're going to be having cut up on that relatively soon here.
Because we got pushed back, we're going to keep it open for longer.
Awesome.
Perfect.
And we will be, since we are playtesting soon, that will be happening. So anyone interested in getting in on that?
Absolutely. We need GMs and players.
Go to the Discord to find out more.
Go to the Discord to play, learn how to play, learn how to be a player, and play test. And, being a playtester is great. Sometimes you get thanked in the book. In this case, you could thank by Min and Sam themselves. How great is that? Can't get better than that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight on the Savage Worlds Summer Showcase. Thank you to all of our amazing guests tonight. You are an absolute treat to get to know. The crowd loves you. Listen to them go wild. My name, as always, is Mr. Harlan Guthrie. You can find me at many different sites. I make a audio drama called Malevolent. If you like Lovecraftian horrors, check it out, malevolent.ca. We've just surpassed 500,000 downloads. We're part of the Rusty Quill Network. Me and my partner also make another actual play named Dice Shame.
We do. I am the DM of Dice Shame Podcast. We are approaching 150 episodes at the end of August, and you can come and see us at Fan Expo last weekend of August. Harlan and I will be there representing Dice Shame and Malevolent in Toronto. So if you are going to be there, check us out and come say hi, and we'll have a beer or something.
Yep, that is it from us. Have a wonderful night and enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you next week on the Savage Worlds Summer Showcase. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.